something really good, a hot topic in the news this week. He's been charged with crime. This is a show where I try to educate real stories. Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. I've missed you. I haven't been on live in a few weeks because our director was doing Execution Watch and other programming, so I'm glad to be back. Wow, we're really excited tonight because my co-host, Danny Sneed, has brought some of my ex-guests on to talk about their cases, to remind us of how serious the criminal justice system is, and to educate young people about the criminal justice system, and hopefully to help you not make the mistakes that they made. But we're going to also celebrate their successes, because there was really life after prison. And I have a lot of young men in jail right now who are waiting for their trials. I have 10 right now. And Danny has been my legal assistant for the last 6 months, helping me visit them. And he's learned how exhausting that is. And I will allow him to talk about that at the end of the show. But tonight, we're going to start off with Miss Alicia Thomas. Alicia, thank you for coming back.
I'm glad to be here.
Alicia was one of our guests early on, telling us about life as a woman incarcerated in the criminal justice system. And I want Alicia to talk to us again about where she's from, what type of family dynamic she was raised in, when she first got involved with crime, and talk about her prison trips. And then we're going to celebrate her success. But we want to get the background and what she's learned about the criminal justice system. So just give us the background, Alicia, and then I'm going to take you through some steps. After we talk about getting out of prison, what you learned, I'll ask you questions like that, and then what you're doing today. Okay? So tell me where it started for you.
Well, it all started for me back when I was 8 years old, and I learned that I was adopted. And, you know, with adoption comes with a lot of conflict, a lot of problems as far as the individual is concerned. Once I learned I was adopted, I felt like I was abandoned. You know, along with abandonment comes your self-worth, self-esteem, your self-confidence, you know, and all the other fragments that comes with life, you know. So with that being said, that led to drug use. And I spent the last 20 years in and out of prison. And
when did you start using drugs?
I started using drugs at the age of 16. I started smoking marijuana and drinking occasionally. And with that, it escalated, being due to the peers or the friends that I had in my circle. You know, I thought it was all fun, you know, and as time go by, you know, things progress.
What was your bad drug that led you to the criminal justice system?
Crack cocaine.
Crack cocaine.
Yes, ma'am.
And when did you start using crack cocaine?
I started using crack cocaine at the age of 23.
Okay. So talk to us about high school. Were you able to graduate from high school?
Yes, you know, that's the, you know, a lot of people don't understand where I went wrong, you know, but crack cocaine, it doesn't have a face to it. You know, anyone can fall to it. I graduated, and out of 552 students, I graduated number 72.
Wow.
In my class. And that was with a transfer. I transferred from Galveston Ball to Houston back in 1979. And I graduated in 1982.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a beautiful thing. So you're from Galveston, but ended up finishing high school in Houston.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. So tell us, so you were using drugs in Galveston, I guess, or did you start it at 16 here in Houston?
I started in Galveston. See, once I transitioned out of high school after I graduated, I went back to Galveston to go to college for nursing. I did 2 years there, came back to Houston to try to get a LVN, and with that failing, you know, one thing led to another. I ended up back in Galveston, and that's where I started my drug use. I want to say roughly about 1984, I started using crack cocaine.
And a lot of women use crack cocaine, but they don't end up in prison. So how did that land you in prison?
Well, how it landed me, I
Tell me
was
what
more
happened.
of a freelancer is what you call. I thought I was unique. But with my use, you know, when you're using, you go through things that take you out of character. And my brother always told me I was intelligent. And that has stuck with me for many of years. And I took that mind frame of not being in positions that were unwanted or felt, you know, was life-threatening and started selling.
Okay.
You know, instead of just leaving it alone, which addiction isn't an easy thing to leave alone. You know, you just can't say, well, I'm not going to use. Well, you got a few that has done that. But for me, that wasn't my walk.
Right.
So I started selling drugs to enable to support my habit. And
Were you able to hold a job at that time?
no, ma'am, because I was too busy out there in the streets.
Is that the streets in Houston or Galveston?
Houston.
So tell me what led to prison.
I've got busted several times with controlled substance. And
Did you ever have a case where you got caught selling to an undercover police officer?
now, you know what? I was lucky not to have any of those, but I had enough cases to land me in and out of prison for merely 20 years or more. In and out, that is. Not staying out past a couple of months, maybe a year. And then if I was out past a month, I was already running. You know, I wasn't trying to report. A lot of times I got out. I wasn't trying to report, didn't know who my PO was, and I didn't care.
Just chasing that drug, chasing that crack cocaine.
Chasing the crack.
Where would you live?
Well, a lot of times I lived in hotels.
Okay.
And if I stayed in a hotel, I thought I was doing good.
Did you have to prostitute to support your habit?
No, ma'am.
You never had to do that. Did you prostitute other people?
Well, well, no.
Game,
well,
baby, it's the game.
You know, I've had women in my circle. I've had plenty of women in my circle. But, I mean, if I was in the circle and they went out and got money,
Then
and
we
they
all
came
use
back,
the dope.
hey, I was there with the dope.
Gotcha.
You know, so it made it better for me.
Right. I understand. I understand. So 20 years of getting in and out. What was the epiphany for you in prison? I know you've told us before you were actually in prison with Carla Faye Tucker, the woman that was executed. You talked about how she changed her life, how she really became religious. And you were there. What was the longest time you were in prison?
The longest time I've been in prison is like 6.5 years.
Wow. Is that the time that you really got the epiphany, like, hell, when I get out of here, I'm not going back?
No.
That wasn't it? The 6.5 years didn't do it?
6.5 years did not do it.
And when you did 6.5 years of flat time, what was your actual sentence that you did 6.5 on?
I had 5 30-year sentences. I beat 2. I ended up with 3.
So that was on a 30-year sentence.
Yes, ma'am. All of
And
them
and for the educational piece of this, that was a long time ago, and it was not aggravated because there's no weapon involved. It's just drugs. Okay,
Yes,
if she would have been caught with drugs and a weapon, that 30 years she would have had to do 15 years before she would have been eligible for parole in Texas. 15 years, and that doesn't mean she'd have made the parole, but she can't talk to anybody, and that's the hardest thing for young people to understand. When there's weapons involved, aggravated time in Texas is aggravated time. And so your cases were not aggravated, is that correct?
No, ma'am. Just 2 more aggravated because of the amount
Right.
of drugs.
Right, but they weren't aggravated to where you couldn't talk to parole until you've done half your time.
Correct.
The parole system aggravated it, but it wasn't aggravated under the penal code.
Correct.
Okay, because penal code, that's for when they find a deadly weapon.
Right.
Okay, so after you did the 6.5 years, staying clean in prison, I presume, how did you go back? What happened, Alicia?
Well, I lost my mom in '99. And
Now, that's your adopted mom?
Yes, ma'am. That's the only mother I know.
Okay.
And I got out with the same mind frame, you know, because while I was in prison, I was selling bleach, sugar, cheese. That hustling mentality was still there.
You're still hustling.
Right. And all the time I would say, oh, I'm tired of this. But there came a point in time in my life I became desperate. So when I got out, I went back to the same old thing. You know, they say you have to get out and you have to crawl. You have to crawl before you walk. I want straight up jog, you know, and got involved, start using again, and then I started selling, and I ended up back in the system.
So how much time did you do the next time?
Right at 6 years.
You did 6 years again?
Again.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, was that the time? Was that the epiphany? Was that the time that you got out and said, I'm not doing this no more?
This is the time.
What happened that time?
This time, I got involved in a class called Cognitive Intervention. And every time I go to the prisons, this is what I tell people. Start with the here and now. Don't talk about waiting till you get out. Because one foot might still be in the door while the other one is crossing freedom. So that mind frame is still there. But I got involved in cognitive intervention, and that was a life-changing experience for me.
How long was that program?
That class was 6 months.
Do they still have that class?
At some units, if I'm not mistaken, offer it.
Okay.
For men and women.
For men.
And where were you there? Where did you have this class?
Riverside in Gatesville, Texas.
Gatesville. Okay. You want to add something on that, Danny?
Yes, they also, again, Danny Sneed, the encourager. Hello, everybody, listening land. They also offer a program that I went through. It's called ENCOW, and it was about cognitive. And the thing about it is, when you live in a community with other men, and they try to teach you and model what life is going to look like before you get out. So what it is supposed to get you ready to get away from all the behaviors you learn in prison and how we think. So it's supposed to modify how we do things in prison versus how it's going to look when we get out. And the theory is we're going to hold each other accountable. So instead of the guards and people over us telling us when we're doing things wrong, I'm going to see her doing something out of character. I'm going to write it down on a slip of paper, and we're going to come in a group, and they're going to read it, and we're going to bring Alicia's behavior. Is that the same kind of program?
That's more of Safe P, of what you're talking about. Cognitive intervention deals with the thought pattern.
So tell me what your program worked with. So tell me how they helped you change your thought pattern.
It helps you with with self-esteem, you know, your abandonment issue. First of all,
that's big with women.
Yes.
Maybe with men too,
Yes.
but with women, because my mother died when I was young, and I'm 57. I'm still dealing with abandonment
Right.
issue. That's one of the
Right.
reasons why I'm always saying I don't date, because if I get too close to somebody, I want him to be my mama, my daddy, all the things that I never had. You know what I mean? So I'm too codependent. So it's just easier for me to just stay by myself. You know what I mean? Because no one, if a man want to be your man, he ain't trying to be your mama and your daddy and your candlestick maker. He ain't trying to be everything, although he needs to be, but he ain't trying to be.
Right.
So I've learned that that's too much for a person.
correct.
And that's, I've dealt with a lot of my issues, but I haven't dealt with that. So I understand. And so you have to deal with that behavior.
Yeah, you have to deal with that behavior head on. And that's what that class started. Our first day of class, actually, she asked us, what our name was, and she loved to deal with repeat offenders. That was her niche.
Wow. That's a good teacher.
Yes.
That's a hard person.
Yes.
The repeat offender.
That and those that were in medium and close custody. Those were the people she loved to deal with. And our first day of class, she said, get a piece of paper out, and I want you guys to write down what would you like to be put in an obituary, a eulogy.
Damn, that's cold.
And everybody just got quiet.
Yeah, what you
And
want
she
in your
say, now,
obituary?
turn them in. She say, now, realistically, write it down. Like, you want all this sunshine, but have you lived that life?
Right.
What would you want in your eulogy? And that's, that stuck with me many of years. But that class, that was a life-changing class for me. And actually, after that class, I started tutoring the 26-hour substance abuse classes that they offer in the prisons. All along I used to say there's no resources in the prison system. You just got to want it. And I sought every resource there was because I wanted something different. I was getting older. lost my mom, and I just had to do something different. And that was my turning process.
Wow. So did the teacher teach the class alone, or did she have a group of teachers with her?
No, ma'am. Just one.
She was that powerful of a woman?
That powerful.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And every now and then she'll have a student that had previously graduated from her class.
Wow, that's a powerful testimony.
Yes.
Do you think that class would have worked for you in the free world?
I don't know.
And the reason why I say that is because there's always a debate among the leaders in the criminal justice community, as people will say, well, my child just needs help. And then others say, well, people have to want to get help. You can't force them to get help. You can lock them up in prison, but you can't offer prison or rehab. Everybody's going to pick rehab, but you got to want to use that rehab, and it's a mindset. It's like with everything. You've got to make that choice to use the resources that are available. And that's one of the hardest things I have with my young clients in jail is they want to get out. They want to get out. They want to beat it. But what Danny helps me do is helps them know that you got to stop trying to be the lawyer and tell your lawyer about I didn't get Mirandized and I didn't get my rights. You got to change your mindset because you in this damn jail and you go into the penitentiary, but by the way you going. And I deal with bad crimes. They not no drugs. We ain't dealing with no drug people. We dealing with what we dealing with. Murder. Tell them.
Capital murder cases.
They capital murder cases, baby. And they some of them little boys. Look at you remember that the one we got with the crooked eye. We ain't gonna say his name, but
Look like Kid and Play.
He looked like Kid and Play, and he looked like he's 16. He might just be 18. I mean, they some of them babies, and then that other little Turner, he's a little one.
He once asked me when I was talking to him, and he looked back. He said, because I was going kind of hard, and he said, "Are you here to help me?"
He said, "What'd you tell him?"
Well,
Daddy?
because I kept pointing to, because I can't talk about it, but he kept shifting the blame, and I kept bringing him back to being accountable, and then he realized that I wasn't going to allow him to blame anybody, so he just looked at me and looked back like this here. "Are you here to help me?" Absolutely. That's exactly why I'm here. Here to help you. And by the time we got through with that session, he got it. Because now you can go back to your cell and not sit there in trauma about what the reality is. There's some dead people out there, and they're pointing a finger at you as the responsible party. And you should have been at home playing PlayStation, Call of Duty. You should have been somewhere playing basketball. Right? Yeah, that's what you should have been doing. But you at the scene of a murder. And we got to have this conversation because this ain't PlayStation. This ain't Xbox. This is real life.
And people are grieving.
And he want to go home. You could tell all he wants to do is just go home, wake up, and say this was a dream. But it's not a dream. It's a reality. You're charged with capital murder.
And I got so many of them like that, murder and capital murder, young men. Shoot, we had one old one charged, but shoot, he kind of got off, right?
Yeah.
Our buddy, he had 9 kids, and he was so impressed he knew all their names. We digress. But back to you. So tell us what the good news. So after you get out this last time, do your 6 years. I know you're on parole forever, because you're probably still on parole, right? Because you had that 30 years, you're on parole.
Not forever.
Okay, for 30 years. And so tell me how you lived. You're living under the parole system, but yet you're making a difference and you're not going back. Tell us how you executed a plan so that some of these people watching can tell their children or they themselves can execute a similar plan.
Well, it all started for me when I got out in 2005. That's May. Actually, while I was in prison, I had all these outlets of living arrangements. So I was merely like homeless in a sense, Everybody reaching out, those that were incarcerated with me as well. No, I don't want that. You incarcerated waiting on somewhere to go, no, this ain't a good look. So, to top everything off, at the beginning of, before I went back for this parole violation, I after all the years, I was one of those 911 prayer warriors. And I often used to pray to God oh God, have the judge to be lenient on me, I'm going to do something different, oh God. And this last time, I just prayed, a sincere prayer of just give me the courage and the willingness to change. And with that, a lot of doors open. So with that being said, just one day in my cell, I went to the billboard and I saw this paper said, the Angela House. And I say, the Angela House, where you had Star of Hope up there, you had Sally, you had the Bonita House, you know. I say, I'm going to try this Angela House. And I wrote a letter. It took me a week, but I wanted to be sincere when I wrote this letter. Because my mind was made up to wanting to do something different. And I mailed this letter, and I got an answer back. And I got interviewed by the director. Her name is Sister Maureen. We call her Sister. And she interviewed me, and I got accepted. And upon making parole, that's where I resided at for 6 months, where you can only be there for so long, up to 45 days, you can go out and seek a job. And the job that I got, I'm still on it.
Amen.
So that's been
Since
11 years.
Oh, wow, 11 years.
I'm in
still
my
on the
11th
same
year,
job.
same job.
What a blessing.
So
What was the name of the program?
the Angela House.
Angela House. Okay. So you're still there. Wow. Wow. But tell me about your church involvement, since I know Danny knows you and Melvin from the Path to Freedom. Tell me about your work in the church.
Oh, okay. I got involved in, I've been a member of St. John's Downtown since 2005. Actually, I joined a month after getting out of prison. And right at 2007, I got involved in the Path to Freedom ministry. And I loved it because that was a platform for me. See, all the times I went to prison, I used to see a lot of my friends or people I knew that were, I figured, quote unquote, worse than me, come back in and deliver a message or whatever. And I used to always say that wouldn't happen for me. You know, he wouldn't do it for me. And he did.
Amen.
So I've been a member of the Path to Freedom ministry since 2007. And I just love it.
Yay.
Yay. What a blessing. What a blessing. What a blessing. So what keeps you on the straight and narrow now?
Oh, it's so many things that keep me on the straight and narrow. First of all, my ministry, my church, my family, really for number one. And that's something I had always prayed about upon exiting prison, was to restore my relationship with my family.
Amen.
And
you restored your relationship.
he restored my relationship.
Amen.
We've been working on it for the past couple of months. And I am truly grateful for that.
All right. And now you're an entrepreneur. So tell us why you're from prison to being an entrepreneur. Tell us about that.
Well, about 4 years ago, I was introduced to paparazzi accessories. And I said, well, it's actually taking my negative situation into something positive. I'm a people person. I love to talk. One of my friends, Miss Bobby, tells me I never meet a stranger. So I say, okay, I'll try this jewelry business. And I've been having this jewelry business since 2000, and I'm gonna say 2012. And now I've just released my exclusive line of jewelry. It's called Miss A's Exclusive Jewelry and Accessories. I launched that line back in October of last year.
Wow.
Yeah, so, you know, God keeps me in the midst of positive people. And, you know, I love bouncing ideas off each other. And I just took that idea and ran with it.
But you still have your day job.
Still have my day job. It's a struggle. I'm learning to do accounting because I'm my own bookkeeper.
Right.
Maybe one day I get where...
It's best to control your own money. That's one of the things that good business people, Bill Cosby taught all of the underlings in the entertainment world. You lose your money when you let other people count it.
Correct.
They're spending it. So
Right.
it's a burden.
Yes.
But it's a burden that you need to gladly take, and instead of, you know, counting crack rocks, counting that money, and getting your money together. 'Cause there's so many great programs now for that. QuickBooks.
And it's legal.
And it's legal.
Yeah,
there's
it's
QuickBooks,
legal.
there's Quicken. You know, there's things that you can buy on computers to learn how to do it. So I'm very proud of you. I've known you, I think since 2012. I think that's probably the first time you came on. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
And so, because I've been doing this show since November of 2011. So I'm really proud of you. You've stayed on the right track. You're a success story. And Danny, tell me, before we start, Melvin, tell us why you wanted Alicia to come back and tell her story. Out of all the people that I've interviewed, we've interviewed.
Well, when I look at Alicia, what I see is the opportunities that very few have been afforded that surpasses conventional wisdom of what they say from people, returning citizens, the informed and incarcerated. I mean, you push back the narrative and the argument that we can't change.
Right.
And so when I see you guys and I see you put a face and a name and a personality on change, and what it does, it excites me. It encourages me. It encouraged me so much that I just start saying, just call me to encourage you. You know what I'm saying? But what it is you're a mirror reflection of everything I wanted in life. But when I looked in the mirror, it was just me there, and I didn't like that reflection. But when I started seeing that to build success, start surrounding yourself around successful people, that's been my model. And that's what I believe, and that's what I teach, and that's what I encourage. Anyone that's coming out of prison, hey, you can be the next Walkie Walk. You can be the next Melvin, because these people are doing it the right way. And what we're doing is we're convincing society that we're worth it. We're worth a second chance, and that's why I like the term return to citizen. We did with our time. We're back now. We're returned to citizens. But what I like most about what Walkie Walk is doing is what we're teaching is this. When you get back out of prison, we're not coming back saying, give us. We're getting back and getting involved in the community and becoming assets, becoming entrepreneurs. And we're not saying, government give me a handout. I'm going to go find my own way, make my own money.
Yeah.
The focus that you've shown, the discipline you've shown, the consistency is in how long you've been working on your job. You take those 3 core values right there, and these can be taught and shown to our brothers and sisters that's coming out of the system. So that's why it's important for me to stay connected to you, to stay connected to Melvin, and we link other people in because I like what you're doing.
And I agree. I'm very proud of you for what you're doing. I would encourage you to continue the hard struggle of your full-time job and part-time. A lot of times we as individuals want to be entrepreneurs exclusively. And let me tell you what that hurts. And this is something I'm learning the hard way. I got out of college in 1980. So that's 86 years ago. 36 years ago. 36 years ago. And a lot of my girlfriends are retired. The ones that went to Exxon and to Mobil Oil and Marathon Oil, because, you add our age and years of service, is over 80, is over 90 probably. But they're retired and they have a retirement. When you're on your own, you don't really have a retirement. So you gotta, like I watched old lawyers in the courthouse, they work till they die. So the good thing about having a full-time job, if you can keep up the pace, is you're paying into a retirement system. So you will have the luxury of retiring at a retirement age. It might be 59 and a half, it might be 60, it might be 62 or 65. And then, you're going to live to be 100, so from 65 on, you can do your part-time job, then it can become your full-time job. But at least you'll get a Social Security check, you know what I mean? You'll have the basics taken care of. And a lot of times we don't plan that way. My basics are not taken care of. I mean, if I got sick and couldn't work, I ain't got no money. You understand what I'm saying? Because when you're entrepreneurs, you try to pay into the system, but you're just trying to survive as an entrepreneur.
Correct.
Because we're first-generation professionals. So, you're going to have your good years, and then you're going to have your bad years. And the bad years, you got to use what you tried to save for retirement. You got to use it because something might happen. I had an employee embezzle all my money. So those things you can't really be prepared for. And so, believe it or not, at my age, I'm actually looking for a job. So I'm gonna keep my job, but I'm gonna have to work 2 full-time jobs so that I can work and accumulate something in a retirement system properly. I'm probably get something because I've worked, but not the type that you get if you're in a current job. Correct. So I encourage you to try to keep your job.
Oh yeah,
and because people will retire, leave, and then they're broke. as first generation professionals. But Melvin, now let's talk about Melvin. Thank you for coming, Melvin. I mean, it was a long time ago when you told your story too.
Yes.
So catch us up with you. Tell us where you grew up, and what went wrong for you.
Okay, well, I grew up in Los Angeles, California, and I was in and out the foster system, and got involved with drugs, living on the streets, hustling, and doing all kind of wrong things. And gee whiz, I moved to Houston after I got out the Navy. Kept on being involved with drugs, selling drugs and things like this here.
Now, what made you move to Houston after the Navy, since we don't have naval bases around here? So tell me how you got here.
Well, my father was living here, so I came here to stay with him. And I ended up going back to California, but eventually after I started a family, I came back to Houston and still selling drugs, being involved in, you know, hanging out with the wrong people and things like that. And eventually I got caught up and was accused of killing someone and went to prison for 17 and a half years.
Wow.
And while I was in prison, I rehabilitated myself.
17 and a half years is a long time. Tell us, from when to when were you in prison?
I was in prison from 95 to 2012 of December.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So your freedom's only been, what, 3.5 years?
Yes, 3.5 wonderful years.
Amen. Amen. Now, you did 17 and a half on what sentence?
A murder sentence for 20 years.
So you had, so they made you do almost the whole 20 years?
Yes. Yes.
Wow. So you did 17 and a half on 20. Mm-hmm. So you're off parole now?
Yes, I'm off of parole.
When did you get off parole?
God, 3 years ago.
Wow.
2.5
Why'd you
years
have to
ago.
stay so long? Why'd you have to do 17 and a half years on 20?
Well, you have to ask them that. But I was.
Because at 10, you were eligible for parole.
Right.
That's aggravated for murder. And so did you ever get a reason why you were set off in the parole system?
No, I never got a reason. I just kept on pecking away, trying to rehabilitate my mind and things.
Now, was your 20 years a plea bargain, or was that what a jury gave you?
It was a plea bargain.
Okay.
I plea bargained for 20 years.
20 years, I know this doesn't sound good, but 20 years is a good sentence for murder, you know? Because I mean, I'm just saying,
says the lady that has-
some of the young men I have, if they are guilty, 20 years would be a blessing.
Well, the current status of your
My
case
God,
list.
I got some bad boys, though.
I mean, and if you're not guilty, it could be even longer.
If you're not guilty, right, exactly. If you're not guilty, you shouldn't stay a day in jail.
Exactly.
But I'm just saying, if you're guilty, because you have to plead guilty to get 20 years. So I'm just saying,
Right.
I'm thinking that if you pled guilty, you were guilty.
Well, not necessarily. There's a lot of circumstances behind
Right,
the
right.
case, which I
Was there
don't
some
really want to
self-defense
discuss.
involved? Yeah, you don't want to talk. Okay.
I feel like I'm here to discuss my success after prison, you know, and why I was in
17
prison.
years in prison, it makes people take a pause and want to know how you survived. So tell us at least a little bit about, because this is your 30 minutes and we're only 5 minutes into your 30. So tell us a little bit about how you survived being in prison for 17 and a half years.
Well, actually, I survived because support that I had on the outside. My friend Sherilyn, she kept up with me and wrote me and encouraged me to, you know, to stay straight and do the right thing, you know, and to, when I get out, to be successful. So along with that, I encountered the Kairos prison ministry, who really changed my life, that introduced me to Christ, the love of Christ, the love of other people. So while I was in prison, I started to change, because my first attitude when I went in there was bad. But when I got introduced to the program, my whole attitude changed towards people, towards myself. And I encountered my mentor, Jim Irwin, along with the other Kairos brothers and sisters, who encouraged me to seek God, you know, and that was the biggest thing. Along with seeking God, I also took classes and things, you know, to heal wounds that was inside of me from a child that I really didn't even know that I had. And once I healed those wounds and was able to get out and heal the wounds with my children, God, that was just amazing, because now I have a beautiful relationship with all of my children.
And how many children do you have?
I have 4 children and about 17 or 18 grandkids.
Oh, my
Hi, y'all.
goodness. You got a lot of children.
Yes.
A lot of grandchildren.
And so when
That means you got some sons.
yes, I have 4 sons.
Okay, well, that's why you have so many children. Those sons been they handsome. They've been busy, haven't they?
Yes, they have. And I try to encourage them by living the type of life that I live to be an example, not only for them, but my grandkids too. You know, being in prison could be a good thing, you know, if you want to change your life. But with me, it was through God. Because when I got out of prison, he surrounded me with angels. Some people might not believe that, but I'm going to stick to that because I stand firm on that. After I got out of prison, I went to a halfway house, and a friend of mine said about the VA is helping veterans house and get back up on their feet, so I took advantage of that. But when I was in prison, I met an old guy named, through the Kairos Prison Ministry, name was George Martin, and I asked him one day, if you could start your life all over again, what would you do different? And he thought about it, and he said, I would take the advantage of the opportunities that I missed. So I thought about that. So now I live my life like that by taking the advantage of the opportunities that comes my way. You know, and since I've been out of prison, I've run across so many opportunities, and I take advantage of each and every one. You know, I work for the federal government now, you know, and some of my friends say, oh, wow, you know, you've done all this time in prison. Now you work for the federal government. If God could do it for me, he could do it for anyone. Mm-hmm. So I would encourage people who are going to prison, that are in prison, to get yourself and your thoughts together while you're there, because life could be beautiful out here if we stay down the right path. That's where all of my success came from, and surrounding myself with positive people who's going in that straight path. I don't surround myself with people who are doing things that's not contrary to my lifestyle. And along with that, I also encounter men and women who encourage me to stay straight and give me advice, and I take that advice at heed, you know. And I'm also involved with, like I said before, the Kairos Prison Ministry. We also getting ready to go back inside the Darrington unit and minister to these brothers and let them know that life is beautiful out here if you do what you have to do. And that's, see, in society, you have a certain criteria that you have to go by. And if you don't go by that, then you're going to get outside of the box, which is you're going to break the law. And when you break the law, you're going to get punished. And when you get punished, you go to prison. And when you get out of prison, you got an X on your back. But that X could be X'd if you had a right attitude and have God behind you. You know what I'm saying? Because if I could come out and be successful, she could come out and be successful. Anybody can. But you have to have the right attitude. That's what's so beautiful about it. You know, it's God has been so good to me. It's just unreal. Since I got out of prison, I haven't been broke. I haven't been homeless. I haven't been hungry. I encountered this people that care about me. It was a time where I didn't care about nobody, you know. But now I care about, you know, everybody, and I wish everybody
How did
success.
you, excuse me for interrupting, how did you approach mending your relationship with your sons? Because you were gone for 17 and a half years.
Well, I abandoned them when they were young. So I took a class called, God, I can't remember the class right off my head.
Was it in the Kairos program?
No, it was in prison. Quest to Authentic Manhood. That's what the class was. And it teaches you how to heal wounds with people and yourself. And that's how I learned how to heal the wounds with my son. So when I got out, I called them and asked them to forgive me for not being there for them. You know, guys, if you out there and you have kids and you're not doing anything for them, like I didn't do anything for them, man, send them $1. Send them 50 cents, because that dollar, that 50 cents could buy a loaf of bread for them, and it's so important. Now, my sons, it's just, man, it's so amazing to have them care about me and love me, and
Have they done good in life? I mean, have they?
yeah, some of them.
I mean,
yeah.
are they nobody's in prison or anything?
No, nobody's in prison.
Good.
And everybody's out working and, doing their things,
I
with
find
their
that a lot. Sometimes when guys go to prison, their fathers are in prison. So sometimes it happens when their fathers are there.
Well, one or two of them went to prison, but they got out and they're on the right track.
Right. But they're not there for no long stint. They might have
No.
been there when you were there, but I'm just saying, but that's still okay because they learned from their mistake.
Right. And I try to be an example to live my life, for them to follow. It's just so important.
So you also from prison to success. So you are working full time for the government, and do you work part time also?
Yes, I also have a business that I work part time for that.
Wow. So you're getting it in too. You making up for lost time.
Yeah, I'm making up.
And I see you at church.
Oh yes, oh yes.
So you're also a part of the Path to Freedom.
Yeah.
And tell me why that's important to you, the Path to Freedom.
Well, Path to Freedom gave me the opportunity to build a foundation, and when we get out, it's important to build a foundation. If it's with the Path to Freedom, Star Hope, Kairos Prison Ministry, you have to have that foundation to go forward. You have to have people to always lift you up when you think that things are not going right, because out here society look down on us because we either then killed somebody, we done robbed or whatever, and they look down on us. So and when you're going towards this goal, you have to keep a positive attitude, and you have to have people to always lift you up and tell you, man, you're doing good. You're doing this, man. I like what you're doing. And that encouraged me to keep going, along with God, telling me, And what really got me straight is a book that I read by Tony Evans, and it was called the Kingdom Agenda. And it turned me back from a little bit to going straight again, because not that I was crooked, but when you read stuff that encourage you to do better for yourself, it's just amazing, and I love that. And along with brothers on the job, that encouraged me to seek more of God, and my lady friend who is a Christian who also keeps me straight. And we always need somebody to keep us straight,
Amen.
No matter who they are.
Amen.
Mentor, girlfriend, mama, whatever. And if you listen to them, I'm 66, and I have a mentor. I listen to people. You can learn from a baby.
You can.
So I would encourage brothers, when you locked up, man, just try to get yourself together, because, man, there's no way like the right way. By living your life as a citizen. I vote now.
All righty, off parole, you can vote.
Yes.
Know that. That's the lesson to be learned. You can't vote while you're in prison. You can't vote while you're on parole, but you can vote the day you get off parole. You can register to vote.
I'm getting ready to get a passport.
All righty now, you going to go out the country? You going to get on a cruise ship or something?
No, I'm not getting on no cruise ship. Makes me think about the Titanic. No, I'm not going to do that. No, but I'm planning on, doing a little something, life is so good. You don't have to look over your shoulder, the police here and there. When you're doing wrong and you're doing something crooked, I've seen too many guys go back because they didn't want to do what's right, because it's so easy for them to go back to prison and to live off of the system like that. But man, how could you want to do that? But some people want to do that because
Do you really think they want to? I hate it when I hear my colleagues or prosecutors say, oh, they want to go back to jail. That's such a hard fight to fight when you hear people saying that. You really think people want to go?
oh yeah,
Not
because
consciously, subconsciously.
no, I think consciously, because it's so much easier for them to go and get taken care of.
Really?
Yes, I mean that's just my opinion now.
You're right, right. But
know.
trust me, as a defense lawyer, that's hard because prosecutors will say, oh, he just want to go get taken care of. And then I go look at my client, he's like, no, ma'am, I want to get out. I want to get out. But, you know, their behavior is showing that they seem like they want to go back. You know, they're on parole, they're on probation, they intentionally violate it. And so it's a hard compromise of
The
negotiation.
reason I say that is because if you get your back up against the wall and you don't have no way out, you don't have nobody to talk to, you don't have nobody encouraging you, lifting you up. Oh man, I'd rather just go back. Give me 20 years, give me 5 years,
They
man.
do
I'm gonna
that.
go lay low and get myself together and come back out and try it again.
Right.
Some
do
people
do that.
have that, that type of
You're right.
attitude.
There are people, when I used to do court appointments exclusively, that they just sign me up. You know, they did have a defeated personality, but I just thought they were defeated. I didn't think they wanted to go back. Because sometimes you can be defeated. So tell me, Danny, why was it on your heart to bring Mr. Oles back? Tell me about your journey with Mr. Oles and why you wanted him back.
Well, I work for U.S. Vets, and U.S. Vets is a nonprofit organization aimed at homeless veterans and restoring their lives. And I was getting out of work one day, and I saw this guy coming across the the courtyard, and he was moving real fast. And I'm not a psychic or anything, but that walk, I had recognized that walk. And I was like, I know that pace right there. That's somebody that I hadn't seen before, but his pace was so fast. I said, hey, who are you? And we introduced ourselves. I said, where are you going? He said, man, I'm going to see my family, and I got to do this, and I got to do this. You know, he kind of talks kind of fast. I'm like, did you just get here? And he told me he had just recently got out and all that. And we shook hands, and I began to tell him about the Path of Freedom Prison Ministry, what it offers, what our vision was, our mission was, and invited him to come to a meeting. It's on Thursdays. And he showed up. And from then, we developed a relationship through the Path of Freedom. And Melvin immediately bought into the idea of getting out of prison and becoming not a liability, but an asset. And he began volunteering. And back then, I don't think Melvin he didn't know nothing about Facebook and all that. And I'm big on blogging, and I use Facebook as
And social
as a
media.
tool.
You love social media.
Right.
Yes, he do.
And so what I did is, Melvin was sweeping one day at the church, and I took a picture of him, and he started volunteering with the Bread of Life every Sunday, showing up, feeding. But the thing about when Melvin was volunteering, he was so excited to do it.
I know it. I
He
feel
was
the
so
excitement in it tonight. I mean, he's just happy about life.
But he was enthusiastic about serving long before he was a federal employee.
Wow.
Long before he had got a lot of things in his life. His success was right then. When I saw him sweeping, to me, that's what success was. So all those things that he added to his life, I think a life dedicated to things is a dead life. What we accomplish dies with us. Mm-hmm. But what we do for others stays in the heart and mind with the world forever. So what I'm saying is the things he was doing for others.
And that was impressing you. That was giving you life.
Well, what it is it was showing me how I viewed success. To me, it wasn't about things, accomplishments, jobs, titles, income, cars, all those things, but that's what I wanted. I wanted to have a life and be enthusiastic about giving and not by gaining.
Or taking.
And I saw that in Melvin, I saw that in Alicia, and I saw that in the men and the women that I was meeting. And so I changed my nouns. I changed the people, I changed the places, And the things is I changed my attitude and my hobbies and in my life. And people like Melvin and Alicia, I befriended them. You know, I have a lot of friends, but the sign says people that have a lot of friends only because they present themselves friendly. So when I meet you, I stopped him, I befriended him, and he's still my friend today. And you know what I'm saying? But one day, what Melvin did is he took the friendship and flipped it. He became more a friend to me than I him. He'll take me out to eat.
All right, Melvin, go on.
I was at my job one day and I didn't have time to go get anything to eat. Melvin went to Popeyes and got me some hot fried chicken and brought it to me.
That's a friend.
You know what I'm saying? That's a friend.
That's a friend.
While I'm at work, and he celebrates me. He'll call me and say, "I just want to pray for you."
Amen. Amen.
You know what I'm
Melvin.
saying? So this is something that can be taught, and that's what we do at the Path of Freedom. When men and women come back, returning citizens, we show them that how we're living. We give them our core values. We believe if you stay focused, you stay disciplined and consistent like Alicia, you will get the same rewards that she's getting. And we also believe in God. But what we say
Amen.
is God plays a very important in our lives. But check this out. God only helped those who help themselves.
All right.
So it's a process. This transformational thing is a process.
Oh, yes.
It's not something that's a given because you say a few words. Because even Jesus said, in this world, you're going to discover some trials and tribulations.
Amen.
But if you look what I did and see how I overcame the suffering on that cross, you know you're going to be all right. So all this comes to play and brings us to where we are today, that this is huge, Vivian. When you're working with clients that's facing huge amount of time going to prison, here's a contrast of what you do in the criminal justice system defending people. We're the same people you defended that came out and didn't go back in the system.
Well, tell me though. Let's share with me how we can help these young people. Do you see why I wanted to start something like this? Because our young people, I think Danny is the encourager. Y'all know that. But as he's been working with me, he won't give in and give up. But I can tell they're starting to wear him out. I know he's starting to understand how difficult it is. Being a criminal defense lawyer is a thankless job because no one has enough money to pay you, but they want you to work night and day, and you can never give them enough. I mean, we're there until we're like starving and exhausted on Sundays. Am I lying?
Right.
I had that experience Sunday.
I mean, he called me and said, Viv, I can't do nothing else. I left him because I was going to go to trial on Sunday. So I was still working when he came to my office, and I was working after he left. But I started off the jail. I said, today, Danny, you're going to drive your own car. Because usually I pick him up from church. I go from 8 to 10, and I take him with me. I'm like, I can't stay all day today.
Left me with 5 clients. 5 clients.
I saw 2.
And so we saw 7 total.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is,
And they know him already because he goes we go every Sunday. I have so many, they have to be in rotation.
Let me just say this, too.
And it's hard, isn't it? Because these young people are in another place.
well, you're giving something of yourself that is draining that you didn't understand.
Yeah, because you're draining because you're having to give them encouragement and to really dig deep. You have to dig deep into all of when you were that age and the mistakes that you made and how to give them hope to overcome, and this situation's going to be over. But you have to do it week after week. It's exhausting. And just think, I'm dealing with that every day in court. But I'm at the jail. We're just there trying to encourage them. It's a chore.
And another thing, too, like when you're mentoring people and young guys and stuff, you also have to think back how you were.
Right.
So you have to integrate that into what they're doing because it's something new to them, you know. But my thing is this here, you know, by being a man of God, God says that if you first seek the kingdom of God, all things will be added to you. So if you're in prison or wherever you are, if you seek the kingdom of God, you don't have to ask for nothing. It's going to be added to you already. You understand what I'm saying? So when you're out there, you know, like Danny's doing good work, you're doing good work, she's doing good work, we're encouraging, lifting up. You know, I'm involved with a lot of things, U.S. vets, Star Hope Miles Ministry, you know, things like this here. And we encounter broken people all the time, women, men, children. You know, we have to have a certain type of attitude about ourselves in order to lift them up, because they're going to look at you and say, oh man, I want to be like this guy, just like the Kairos brothers. I want to be like them and still do, you know, in my life, you know. And it's
Those Kairos brothers are deep. Every time I hear about them, they bring people life.
And sisters.
And sisters, yeah. Well, I can tell you this. We have some young men that are so out there that it's hard to bring back, that are just always still trying to get over and get out. You know, try to break them down is tough, because you know you got to break them down before they can start trying to repair. And they haven't gone to court yet. You remember, they're still waiting for their trial date or their disposition. But we've got to make them learn how to do whatever time they got to do. You know, because they're going to have to do some time, but you got to learn how to do that time.
Well,
And to still have hope, and to still realize there can still be a life, because their stories are so... I love them, but it's exhausting. Because you don't, I mean, because people want an immediate answer. And this is a different age to when y'all went to prison, okay? So these kids, they're getting taken away from these machines that they playing with all day and they constant with. So they have a different anxiety than the guys I dealt with, you know, 20 years ago. Because it's different. Don't you think it's different?
Yeah, and the key thing is, how do I take responsibility? Nobody wants to take
They don't do
responsibility.
that at all.
But see, not just when you're talking with somebody that's in prison. In our society now,
People don't take responsibility.
No, if you go to a place and you order something and it's not right, and you go back in there, nobody wants to take responsibility.
It's a different day. It's a different
being
day.
wrong. They want to blame
Right.
and shift it like, well, it's
They
somebody
never
else's
say,
fault.
I'm sorry, it's about customer service. You know, that's not the era, that's the era we were raised in, but that's not the way people are anymore. They'll say, well, it's not my fault. That's the first thing people say, it's not my fault. And so it's a different, it's different. It's different. Well, guess what, y'all? We have 2 minutes. And so we're going to let people do some last minute statements. I am going to end with Danny and start with Alicia. So Alicia, what do you want to say about your path to freedom?
Well, I love the path to freedom, you know. I look forward to it. Every second Thursday I cook. I thought me and Danny was cool. I thought he was trying to be cool with me because of my food.
I didn't know he really loved it in mind.
Yeah, they love to see me coming through the door with a big old pan. But first, I want to applaud you guys, because going in and spending time with those incarcerated, back in our days, we didn't have that. You know, you straight up, you got a lawyer, you go to court, you may say a few words, that was it, that was all.
And let me tell you this, and I had to give myself a pat on the back. I told my clients, and Danny doesn't know which ones are court appointed and which ones have paid me. He doesn't know. I don't tell him, because we're doing our thing.
Correct.
It's not about that. 30 seconds. What you got to say, Mr. Oles?
I just want to say that I applaud all the people out there that are volunteering and doing good things for the prisoners and the homeless people and everything, and just keep up the good work, because eventually it will pay off.
And we do, and Danny, it's on you.
All right, the Lazarus Project meeting dates and times is Thursday, 5:30, 7:30 p.m. Location, St. John's downtown, 2019 Crawford Street, Houston, Texas, 77002. If you have a loved one that's incarcerated, we write them. If they're just recently got out of prison and they need a support group, we sign documents for parole and probation office. You're welcome to join the group. We're offering love and hope. And we also offer good cooking from my friend, Walkie Walk.
Walkie Walk. She's known as Alicia Thomas. Walkie Walk. Ms. A. She got all these monikers, but we love Alicia, and I can't wait to see her on Sundays. What you gonna say, Mr.?
I was going to say, if you guys want to get involved with the Kairos Prison Ministry, also get in touch with me, and I'll connect you with the right people, male or female.
And if you ever want to get in touch with them, if you contact me at my office, you can Google me, Vivian King, attorney, Houston attorney, and you want to get in touch with any of the people that you see on my show, contact me, and I'll get you in touch with them. Thank you so much for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. It's been another great show, and remember, I want to tell your story. Good night.
Watch, sister.
Thank you for tuning in again tonight. We have something really good.